most powerful banks in the world is sounding the alarm on the American economy. Deutsche Bank, which has long been one of the most influential banks in the world, issued a statement saying that the entire US economy is currently only being held up by the AI market bubble. Ignore the background noise, someone's rediscovering his new toys, and all of them make sounds. How a market bubble happens is a bunch of people get really excited about something that they believe is a 100% guaranteed return on investment. Hype builds on itself, so the price builds on itself, so the hype builds further. It's secretly a bad investment and no one knows it or is willing to admit it. This happened in 2000 with the dot-com bubble. The internet was the new hotness, everyone knew it was going to be a big deal, but no one knew exactly how they were supposed to invest in it, so people just invested in everything. The problem was, we only understood what the technology was, not how to effectively use it, so a ton of businesses went under and it led to a market crash when that bubble popped. Now the same thing is happening with AI. Everyone knows generative AI is going to be a new big thing, but no one's quite sure of how it's going to be used most effectively. So everyone's just kind of throwing all of their money at as many investments into general AI tech as they possibly can, without really any regard for whether or not those are good investments. Only thing that is keeping the economy propped up is the surge of activity that's happening in the AI sector. Deutsche Bank is saying it's only a matter of time before that bubble pops, and when it does, it's going to take the entire United States economy with it. I haven't really been given a time frame on when this is going to happen, but if Deutsche Bank is sounding the alarm, we're probably closer than is comfortable. Because by the time people were sounding the alarm on the dot-com bubble, it was already too late. By the time people were sounding the alarm on the housing bubble in 2008, it was already too late.
Someone posed the question, why is the stock market reaching all-time highs if it feels like employment is just cracks everywhere, inflation is still high? Why is that happening? The answer is behind me here. But first of all, we measure the stock market by the S&P 500, which is 500 of the biggest companies within the US. But the bigger the company, the bigger the market cap, the bigger piece of the pie, which means they can move the market more. It's not like equal. The 500 companies are not equal at all. Total of 10 holdings make up almost 40% of the overall S&P 500. I need you to ask yourself, do these companies require a healthy consumer? A healthy consumer means everyone has a job. NVIDIA is the biggest piece of the index. You know who NVIDIA's customers are? Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, and Tesla. These Les Berkshire are riding the AI wave. Unlike the dot-com bubble, these companies are huge and have a ton of free cash flow and are spending that free cash flow. They're cutting headcount because of AI, and that is pulling forward earnings because the market's forward-looking. It's always saying, what are these companies worth based on all the information we have? And then it's a vibe of like, oh, they're going to have AI revenue. They're worth more. People buy more. Price goes up.
NVIDIA is investing $100 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI is going to take that money and use it to train their new models. And what do they need to train their new models? They need chips. And where do they get those chips? From NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is putting $100 billion into OpenAI for OpenAI to then purchase chips from NVIDIA. And that purchasing that OpenAI does from NVIDIA is capital expenditure, which is a business cost. So they can write that capital expenditure off on their taxes. And that CapEx spending was the main driver of GDP in the first half of 2025. It outpaced consumer spending in its effect on GDP growth. That's what's growing the pie right now.
OpenAI is now buying chips from AMD. And in return for buying those chips, AMD is giving OpenAI a 10% stake in the company. And the stake in that company actually went up by a lot because OpenAI announced that they were going to buy AMD's chips. And this is coming at like 3 weeks after NVIDIA announced that they were going to invest $100 billion into OpenAI. So OpenAI is now using that money to buy NVIDIA's chips, but also AMD's chips, and maybe giving some of that money to Oracle as well, which is buying chips from NVIDIA. And all of that is making everyone's stock price go up, which is making everybody rich.
The US economy right now is like a Jenga tower with 18 fucking pieces missing. We are one piece pulled out away from everything just toppling down. AI, was responsible for 40% of US GDP growth this past year and 80% of US stock growth. And the manufacturing industry has contracted for 7 consecutive months, while every other economic indicator is saying this is as bad as things have been since 2009. Now, when you have a sentence that says the economy is as bad as it's been since 2009, this is not me fear-mongering, this is just me preparing you. Our economy is in a very bad place. If you have a job, hold on to it with everything you have.
I'm a recruiter and I work in the life sciences industry. I posted a position yesterday on LinkedIn for a data scientist role. The role's remote. It filters out anyone that doesn't live in the US, has knockout questions for people just to make sure that they meet the qualifications for the role. So active applications, I log in today, over 600. Taking a look through all of the applications, every single person is qualified. I have to go through and reject over 600 people for a job that these people probably well deserve because our market is crashing. I've never seen anything like this in the 11 years that I've been recruiting.
The stock market keeps pushing new highs because rich people live in an entirely different universe than regular people. And that's important because people don't realize the economy and the stock market are not the same thing. The economy is a general vibe check on the people, but the stock market is a general vibe check on the money. The stock market is a representation of rich people's money. 10% of Americans held 93% of all stocks, while the bottom half held about 1%. Furthermore, we are living in a tale of two cities. While the bottom 90%, yes, 90, is struggling to make ends meet and taking on debt to do it, the top 10% of households actually account for nearly half of all spending. The music is still very much playing for these people, and why wouldn't they spend big? Their investments in homes soared in value over the past few years. They locked in low 3% mortgages, and they're probably past the entry-level work stage, so they're not stressing AI as hard as the young people. But for the 90, the leverage and power they found during the Great Resignation has petered out. 3 years ago, workers could negotiate hard for better pay because there was a labor shortage, but now people can't find jobs. This is forcing people to cut back on their spending and, unsurprisingly, is growing the wealth gap. That's why you're seeing TikToks of moms in their cars crying because they can't afford groceries, and then 2 videos later, it's like, hey guys, rare Hermes unboxing. And unfortunately, I don't have some magical solve to help people feel better about the anxiety and stress they're feeling about their money and the economy right now. But what the stats have shown me is that it's more important than ever to participate in investing in the financial system, because if you don't get to reap the benefits of the growth. What the stats have shown me is that it's more important than ever to participate in investing in the financial system, because if you don't get to reap the benefits of the growth.